If you guys have an 09 to 18 Ram and you've been shopping for replacement headlights, you've probably seen these. This is the Morimoto XB. There's a white daytime running light and an amber daytime running light. Now, Morimoto came out with an all-new replacement headlight that's much brighter, it's got so many more features, and there's 3 different kinds. An RGB daytime running light kind, there is the top dog XB Evo, and then they even made an XB Hybrid, which is a little bit more of that entry-level price point. Which one is better? In this video, I want to go through all of the functions, all the features, and of course show you just how much brighter the new ones are compared to the old Morimoto headlights. I'm gonna get to the light outputs in a little bit. If you wanna skip ahead, go ahead, because these things are insanely bright. But first, let's dive into the features. The features on the Morimoto XB is something you're totally used to. When they're off, they're all blacked out and they look really cool. Inside, you're gonna notice 2 LED projectors. They're bi-LED projectors and they do both low beam and high beam. The daytime running light is also different. As you can see on the website, the old Morimoto XB has a daytime running light with 2 different colors. However, you have to buy the white specific SKU or the amber specific SKU. You cannot switch between these 2 colors, and that's a huge issue. One of the major difference between the 2 projectors is that you're gonna notice there's now 3 projectors on these headlight housings. When the higher end Morimoto headlight housing is turned off, you're gonna notice the shrouds on the inside are actually this titanium look, and it really shows the projectors more defined when it's off. It really lets everybody know that there is something epic inside of your headlight housing and you paid a pretty penny for it. The 3rd projector is actually a high beam assist. It's the D optic, and it was designed from Morimoto's optical engineer. It gives you an insane amount of additional light on high beam. The Morimoto XB Evo Hybrid looked very similar, had that all blacked out housing. You're also gonna notice 2 projectors in here, same as the Morimoto XB. Now, the Morimoto XB Evo Hybrid, and you can't change that. See, it's only available in white. So if you really wanted amber, then the hybrid is not for you. You cannot change that. It looks just like this. It's brighter and it's more consistent when it comes to the brightness and intensity, no matter which way you're looking at it when you're standing around the vehicle, but it's not available in amber. This one and the Morimoto XB Evo is available in an amber or a white, and you can change them on the fly with these simple little plugs right here on the backside. These come with 4 different plugs on the backside of these headlight housings, and you can change it from an amber or a white daytime running light, and then you can also change how the turn signal performs. It can either be a sequential scrolling effect or that standard fade off effect. Your original Morimoto XB housings did have the choice between a sequential and a standard blink option, but it wasn't quite as easy as changing this out on the fly. You do have to remove the headlight housing and disconnect or connect a wire on the backside to get that to change. Both the white and the amber version did change in the past. I want to get a little nerdy really quick about the daytime running lights, because there's a huge difference that nobody really notices, and that is that there is a new surface texture that Morimoto used on the daytime running lights to provide a very consistent light output when you're looking at the vehicle. So right now, these original Morimoto XBs on camera probably do look very bright. But if you were standing right there, the brightness completely goes away. These headlights do not have that issue. If you're looking at it from this direction or this direction, it doesn't matter. It's still equally as bright. It's super intense in person. That's a huge deal when you got your friends all gathered around the front end of your vehicle. It looks so much brighter than your original Morimoto XB housings did. The new Morimoto XB Evo Hybrid does not have a startup feature. However, we noticed that you can unlock that feature by installing this. This is a Supercharged Driver. And this is something you can mount on the backside of these headlight housings, the new headlight housings, to give you even more brightness. Now, this is no longer gonna make these DOT compliant. However, it's extremely intense. And if you're driving off-road, you got your Ram and you're going off-roading with your buddies, it's totally fine and gives you an insane amount of brightness. Once you install this thing on the backside of the XB Evo Hybrid, you then get that startup feature. It's not quite as insane as the new Morimoto XB Evo or the XRGB Evo because there's 3 projectors in here. When you have all 3 projectors chasing each other, they look a little bit cooler. You see where I'm going with this. There's so many more features packed into the new headlights versus the original XB headlights. An absolute wild feature that they also included in the new headlight housings, not the RGB version, but the XB Evo, their top of the line without the RGB daytime running light, is an integrated heater. Here's a comparison where the heater is on and then the other one is off. We then iced them, and as you can see over time, this is sped up footage. The heater, once turned on, completely melted the front end, keeping it from icing over. I grew up in Minnesota, and that's a huge deal. You don't want these LED headlights that don't get quite as hot as your original halogen reflector headlights not melting the snow, and the snow builds up and then it's unsafe to drive with. That's the last thing you want, and you don't have that problem. With all conditions met, that heater will then engage. It's super cool. You can flash your headlights 4 times, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then it will respond to you saying, yep, all conditions are met. I'm now turned on, by it flashing back twice. If it only flashes back once, it might not be cold enough outside or all conditions are not met. The last thing they want is for those heaters to be on when it's 90 degrees outside, just burning up the internals of that headlight. You don't want that. Side note, with the XRGB version, like I said, there is not an integrated heater. There just wasn't enough space inside of this headlight housing because you had all those other RGB chips. The chips inside here are RGBWA, which means that there's dedicated chips to give you all of these colors that you see, but then there's specific white ones that still produce the same brightness output as the high-end version, plus the specific amber chips in here also to produce a beautiful amber daytime running light if you don't want to run around in the RGB version. Now this, like I said, is not DOT compliant because you don't want to be driving down the street and have a bunch of funky colors going down. This is more for when you park in a parking lot, you can then switch it to RGB function with your phone and an app. Another huge difference is that there is a new formulated hard coating on the front end of these new headlights, whether it's the hybrid, XRGB, or the XB Evo. This hard coating, it exceeds Toyota's standard, which is the highest standard when it comes to the UV coating. These ones did not have that new formulated coating, and they didn't hold up to the elements quite as well as these do. When these original headlights were launched, they were the best. They had all the features that everybody really desired. Now there is a market full of aftermarket housings that have tons of features, tons of benefits. However, they were lacking one thing, and that was the brightness. A consistent brightness that really went toe-to-toe with these new headlight housings. We did this shootout in another video. You have to watch it. It was a lot of work, and it was really cool to compare these to about 14 other headlight housings on the market that we could buy, the real popular ones. They blew them out of the water as far as brightness goes. So I just want to give you a high-level comparison real quick to show you guys just how much brighter these are compared to the old headlights, and we'll go from there. We went super in-depth doing the multi-level testing system on all of these headlight housings. What you're going to see is just the headlights mounted onto the truck and the light output with 2 headlights, but the numbers are from our specific third-party testing from 1 headlight. If you want to see exactly how that multi-point testing system works, click the link in the description below. It is super complicated, it's very nerdy, but it gives you a full picture of what the headlight housing looks like and how it performs from one to another. So what you're looking at right now is the original Morimoto XB installed on the Ram. Like I said, this is the output of 2 headlights, but the testing was done on just 1. On low beam, the original XB did really well. It got a distance zone score of 7.8. That's higher than most other Ram headlight on the market today that we've tested. Watch that video after this one to see just how much better the original Morimoto XB headlights compared to almost everything else on the market. On high beam, it scored an 8.3. That's also very good. Now the width score wasn't the greatest at a 3.1, bringing your overall rating to 5.5. Still, like I said, it was a pretty good headlight. That high beam penetration is super impressive. You'll also notice that the hotspot is a bit smaller in the center as well. Now this is what it looks like when you install the Morimoto XRGB. Now remember, these are the same projectors they use in their Morimoto XB Hybrid and the XB Evo. The only difference is that D optic, like I was saying before. On low beam, it scored a 6.7, that distance zone score, and on high beam, it scored a 7.1. With the width score, that's a bit better at 4.1, giving the overall rating of this headlight housing, in particular, a 6.9. Now, there was that supercharged driver, and if you did remove the original driver and install this on the backside of your headlight housing, No, it will not be compliant, but it will be much brighter. On low beam, when you've got that installed, I measured a 6.9 distance zone score. On high beam, I measured a 9.4. Yes, this does so much better on high beam, not only due to that high beam assist D optic, but also with that supercharged driver. It just absolutely destroys the darkness. I drove around this vehicle at nighttime and it is so nice and so comfortable to drive with. I 100% recommend this supercharged driver. I got a width score of 4.8 and an overall rating of 7.9. If you're curious on how the XB Evo Hybrid performed, I got a 6.4 on low beam, a 6.4 on high beam, and a 4.0 width score. It had an overall rating of 6.4. With the supercharged driver installed, I got a 7.2 low beam, 7.2 high beam, a 6.7 width score, and an overall rating of 7.3. To make this super simple, all three new headlights are much brighter than the original Morimoto XB headlight. Now I'm sure you're wondering, how much do these cost? Are they an insane amount more than the original XBs? And the answer is no. Click the link in the description to see the current up-to-date pricing. And also, all of these had a 5-year warranty. Go to headlightrevolution.com today. We test lights all the time for the 09 to 18 Ram. We want the best lights, and once we find them, we put them on our website. Check out everything else that we've tested for your vehicle.